Hello, everyone, and welcome back to NARAB's Realtist Creating Pathways to Home Ownership. I am one of your hosts, Roz B. As Roz B, I'm Rosalind Booker, Principal Broker, CEO of Arbrook Realty, and the Director of Arbrook Cares. Arbrook Realty is a full service real estate company where we help people birth dreams and build legacies in real estate. Arbrook Cares is our 501c3 nonprofit where we are linking arms and shoulders with those alliances in the communities, banks, institutions that want to help renters become homeowners. So it's all things real estate for us and economic development and empowerment. We have a very special guest with us today. And in honor of Women's History Month or Women's History Day, today is the day that we are really celebrated around the globe. And I'm just saying, ladies, we need to celebrate each other and ourselves each and every day. But today is really special because you can see if you've been here before, we're minus one. Mr. Chris is handling his marital duties. He's being a great husband today. So we just say, Chris, wherever you are on the replay, we miss you, but we don't. Okay.
Yes, ladies running things today.
We're running things. I tell you. So I am going to punt it to my girl, Miss Rhonda Hutchison.
Hello, everybody. I am Rhonda Hutchison. I am known as the Lone Lioness, and I'm a residential mortgage lender, doing everything residential mortgage lending. We for everything from FHA, all the loan products, conventional, USDA, VA, and also have all programs, doctor programs, jumbo loans. Like Roz always say, and I always say, I have a plethora of things.
You butchered my word.
Yeah, plethora of things so I am excited, very excited to be here. When Roz told me that Miss Lauren Cadillac was joining us on today, I was like, are you kidding me? I was so excited. And yes, Chris, we do miss you. But like Ross said, we really don't. No, we love you and we miss you. But women are running things today. And so excited to be a part of the show on today and cannot wait to get started.
Awesome. Yeah, well, before we get going into the meat of the matter, we titled this Death, Deeds, and Probate. Very, very sensitive but necessary topic to talk about it. I know nobody wants to prepare for the end of life, but I'm telling you, if we are teaching people how to, gain wealth through home ownership and property, real estates, and other assets, then I think it's very important that we teach people how to protect it and keep it. And so Miss Lauren, just short of, awesome. She is a guru. She's an attorney. I met her, goodness, maybe 3 years ago. Yes, at KHVN Heaven 97 radio station, which was sold. Lauren, I think you still may do something with, is it KGGR?
I do, yes.
Awesome. Well, yeah, you can talk about that in just a moment too. But yeah, I met this little, and I told she and Rhonda, I said, our spicy sisters. These are some spicy sisters, and you'll know why in just a moment. So I'm gonna bag out this conversation, and you're gonna see them work their jelly. But anyway, Miss Lauren Cadillac, she is a wealth of knowledge, and she has just such a passion for the southern sector. She'll help anybody, but she really has a passion. I told Lauren, and can I just be real? I said, Lauren, look, I know I'm light skinned, but you lighter than me. I said, okay, what's your why? Because she's down south, y'all, helping folks that others won't help. Can I just be honest? And that's her goal. That's her passion. That's her heart. And I applaud you for doing that. And, she's not for free, but, her prices are not outlandish because of the target of people that she helps. So that's why she is so blessed. That's why she is licensed and an attorney, and her team, I've just been watching them. They are growing and growing and growing. But before we get going, I am going to open us up in prayer, and then we're going to lead into the topic. Father, in the name of Jesus, we just lift you up and we say, have your way today. We are grateful for this awesome day that you have made. We're glad about it. God, it is a day full of hope, full of the benefits of Jesus that is going to be poured out over, in, and through our lives. We thank you for increasing our capacity. We thank you for opening up our understanding, giving us these gifts, God, these pearls, these nuggets, these jewels of knowledge that we need to, God, take in, lay hold of, and apply them to our life so that we can protect the very assets and all the wealth, God, that you have given us. So there's no quarreling, everything's clear, God, and there's no confusion, and families can live happily ever after, for real, for real. So we just thank you for the life of Lauren and every good gift that you have given her, God, her knowledge. And we just pray for Chris in his absence, his wife. Hallelujah. And we just declare and decree that everything, all is well there. Thank you for NARAB, Miss Laura, our president, for allowing us to be here today. In your name, amen.
Amen. Amen.
Amen. So, Lauren Cadillac, would you just lead us into the topic discussion? But before we do that, would you introduce who you are, everything that you do, what you feel you do best, and just lead us right into the topic of estate planning? And we'll get into deeds and all of this, how to protect your assets. And you go.
Okay, so thank you for that, Roz. I am Lauren Cadillac. Like you said, I am an attorney, and my office is in South Oak Cliff. We're off of 67 in Hampton. We've been at this location for 4 years now, I believe. And as Roz said, I met her on what used to be K Heaven and is now KGGR. And I go on that radio station once a week to really spread the message to the community. Roz, one thing I want to address before we start talking about the meat and potatoes.
Yeah.
How did a suburban white girl end up in Oak Cliff doing what she does? So let me answer that for you. I had a very difficult childhood. And during that childhood, I read the book Roots by Alex Haley. And when I read that book, it changed my life. And let me back up. When I turned 4, I decided I was going to be the president of the United States, okay? Now, mind you, this is like...
There's still time for that.
There is, you're right. But this was in 1985, so things were very different back then. And the possibility of a woman president seemed very, very far away. But I was like, I got this. I'm going to be her. And so I studied America and American history and presidents and those kind of things for fun, right? That was like my free time. And then I read Roots, and I was like, wow. I went to read a series of books, The Color Purple, A Prayer Before Dying, all those kind of books that really connected me to a community that I felt I could relate to. I mean, my mom was very abusive towards me, and I felt like I never fit in the community that I was raised in the middle class white community. I felt like absolutely an outsider. When I got to law school, I met a friend. His name's James Abenaka, and he is still a friend today. He was in the Black Law Students Association, and I said, "Oh, let me go with you. I'm going to go with you." And I have to be honest, I had never felt so approved of or like
accepted.
Yeah, than I did when I walked into that first meeting. And Roz, you know me. Rhonda, we've met before. I'm loud, right? I'm loud.
Yes,
bold,
loud.
They tend to be afraid of loud people like me. And so I go in and I'm loud and nobody even flinches, right? Like nobody thinks anything of it. Like, yeah, she's just loud, whatever. And so I really found that I personally was better accepted in that community. And I was treated better. So also, I decided to get my real estate license when I was 19. And I had always, since I had become an adult, I had always been in real estate. And so after I got my license. I did work for AT&T for a while, and I was miserable. And there were a lot of stupid internal politics and things I didn't want to deal with. And there were, Black men being killed by police officers for no reason. I really felt like that was something I should deal more with, right? And so I left and I started my own firm, and I really didn't know what I would do, but I guess God had a plan.
Yeah.
I guess he put roots in front of me at 13. He put me in that real estate classroom at 19. And real estate is a place where the oppression of minorities, women included, is a lot more subversive. Mm-hmm. It's not as like in your face, right?
Right.
We all know about redlining. That redlining in itself was like this secret hidden practice, right? It's not like, oh, the government is shooting at us, right? Like that's in your face. We know there are issues. But in real estate, it's this very subversive and really, in my mind, like shady, right? Like if you're going to be abusive, be outwardly abusive,
Don't hide.
Don't be one of these manipulator under the, and so I really found that I could make a bigger impact on equality, so to speak.
That's awesome.
In that arena. And also I found there are a lot of folks down here south of the river that want to do estate planning, that want to make sure their kids get their house, that are a child whose mom died and they just want to secure the house for the rest of the family. Those people are here. They've just been overlooked for years.
Yeah.
And since that community made me feel welcome, then let me come down here and help y'all. Let me give back. So that's how I got to where I am.
Wow. Well, you want to know what? I'm glad, and it makes me comfortable to say what I was thinking in my head. Thank you for sharing that. But I've always seen you as a undercover Black girl.
Yeah, honey, take that mask off. Take that mask off.
My siblings did a genetic test, and they do those DNA tests. And at first, I came back as 0.007 African. And I was so excited. I told my sister Misha, like, guess what? But enough has come back. I'm actually 2% African. Okay. So Nigerian and Congolese are in my family background. On my dad's side, I know for a fact. So I just feel, it's my 2% reaching out.
Well, hey, you're just a sister from another mother. Welcome. Just welcome to the family. Would you teach us about this estate planning? Why is it so?
Roz froze for me.
Yeah, she kind of froze up on us. She'll be back. But she was probably just tell us about estate planning.
Yes.
You gotta know where we're gonna go. Yeah.
Before we went live, we were talking about this, and I want to make a distinction that Roz will know when she gets back. Estate planning is what you do to secure yourself and your items leading up to death. Probate is what we do after death. If you have a good estate plan, you should not need probate. So let me put that out there, okay? Estate planning is the planning you do to get you to death. The things you do so that you can die peacefully and those kind of things. Probate is what's done after death. And if you did a good estate plan, you shouldn't need probate. Okay.
Wow. Okay.
And it depending on what county you're in, you really don't want to do probate. If you're in Dallas County, you do not want a probate action to happen. So why is this important? Well, in an estate plan, there are some super basic documents like power of attorney. There's two types of power of attorney. There's statutory durable and there's medical. Medical makes sense, right? I'm in a coma. Who's going to make decisions for me?
Yeah.
Statutory durable is what we all think of when we think of power of attorney. I'm going to go to the bank and pay the bills and do this and do that and do this and the other thing. The reason we all need power of attorney, I say all because I mean everyone over 18. Like my son's turning 18 in December. I told him his birthday gives power of attorney. He said, "Oh, thanks."
That's the perks of having a mom as an attorney. Okay.
Yeah, good answer, kid. Yeah. So the reason we need that, if, let's say someone like myself, I am not married. I am very happily unmarried, although if you know someone who's wealthy and single, I'm also available. So let's say I slip into a coma, and I have been in a coma. I had a really bad car accident and I was in a 4-day coma. So I'm in that coma and they need to do some kind of life-saving surgery. Well, if I'm married, it's so easy. They just turn to my husband and say, what do we do, right? If I don't have power of attorney, they are going to go find my mom. Now, y'all remember, I just told you I had a very difficult childhood. I have not spoken to my mother in 22 years.
Oh, wow.
The last thing I want in the entire world is for my mother to make some medical decisions about me. I don't know her. It's been decades. That is not the person. Now, after my mom passes, if I don't have POA, they're going to my sisters. I don't know about y'all, but I don't want my sisters making these decisions either, right? I want somebody who knows what I want and is strong enough to enforce what I want. So I lost my dad in January, not this last year, the one before. So January of 11 or 21, not 11. Hello. His wife wouldn't even give him pain meds. It wasn't until I got there that he got the pain medication he needed, and then he was able to pass away. So whoever is your medical power of attorney needs to be able to make those decisions, right?
This is good.
Those are the decisions like that you would make with your dog, right? Or am I going to put this person down now? Am I going to give them the morphine? Those kind of things. For me personally, even though my son is going to be 18, I do not ever want him to have to make that decision. I don't want to. If he's 50, I don't want him to be the one that pulls the plug. I don't want my daughter to be the one. I don't want them to have feelings that are sad about that, right? So for me, I have power of attorney, and Jamisha, who is my paralegal and best friend and lives here in town, is my medical power of attorney. Because if there's an emergency, they can call her. She's in town. She knows what I want, and she's a baddie. So if she has to pull the plug, she will pull the plug, right? I know she will do what I want her to do. On the other hand, my durable power of attorney is my best friend. She's in Colorado. She doesn't really necessarily need to be here, right? Because she's not going to be making immediate decisions. She's going to be calling my bank and making sure my mortgage got paid and blah, 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 blah. My best friend happens to be a lawyer also. So that's part of the reason I chose her for the durable. Now, folks who have spouses, that's great and everything until you're in the car accident with your spouse and you're both in the ICU.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So now married folks need POA because you need a backup. And I'm not saying no one can have their kids be their medical. If you think your kid will make the decisions you want them to, let them be. I mean, if my son becomes an anesthesiologist, he's my medical POA. I don't care about his feelings, right? And you went to medical school, you're making my decisions. It's totally up to you who these people are. You just need to make sure that you can trust them. And not just trust them with your money, the durable power of attorney, but trust them with your life and that they'll do what you want.
So, for instance, Lauren, if there was a tragedy among a married couple and the durable power of attorney was put in place with the person of choice, where is that recorded? Where would the hospital find that if they can't find the person?
It's not. So, okay. So that's kind of a bifurcated question. So we'll start with the first. Where is it recorded? It is not recorded. It is not an official, a public document. Personally, I keep my POAs in a filing cabinet in my office because it is not likely my office building will burn down, and the filing cabinet is made out of metal. So if the office does burn down, I should be able to find them. Also, Jamisha has access to my office, so she can run in and she can grab them and take them to the hospital if she needs them. So what's important is that whoever is the POA knows where they are and can easily access them. Okay. And I always recommend fireproof because Jamisha had a fire in her house once. And so it's made me I'm very paranoid about those kind of things. It's not likely going to happen, but I'd rather be safe than sorry. Now, when you do your POA with me, I scan it. And so I have an original copy. So we can always just print it out if we need to. With the medical POA, you are supposed to take that to your medical providers. With the durable POA, you're also supposed to take that to the banks and so on and so forth. But you don't necessarily need the durable until something happens. So that one, I usually say just keep on file and make sure you can trust that person and that they can get to that file, that they know where it is.
Okay, Rhonda, you want to jump in with a question? You're muted.
Oh, she had me thinking, Lauren had me thinking, is that I remember when Dad, he had a power of attorney. He made sure his attorney had of course, had a copy.
There you go.
Yes. And then he made sure that we had a copy as his children. So if something happens to one person, Lord help, somebody else is going to be there.
Exactly.
So just make sure that it's many people that you trust have a copy of that power of attorney. But I did also I know you talked about the durable power of attorney. Is that the same as a general power of attorney? Because that's what Dad had. He had a general power of attorney.
Yeah, that's the same thing. So durable, statutory or general, they're all kind of the same words for the same thing. Okay. Now, what I want to say, because this is kind of the second half of Roz's question, if you don't have the power of attorney, or let's say I had someone call in, mom and dad both needed POA and brother was their POA, but there were no alternate POAs listed in the documents. Okay, just brother is the guy. Brother slipped and fell at work, and brother is in a coma in the ICU. Wow. Where are mom and dad's POAs? There are none. So I had to tell that client, you're looking at doing a guardianship for mom and a guardianship for dad, and maybe even a guardianship for the brother, if he doesn't come out of that coma, to the tune of $6,000 a person.
Wow.
Easily. So why do you need the POA and why do you need alternates on the POA? So that people don't have to spend $6,000 to get guardianship of you in order to make those decisions for you, in order to make sure you're healthy. And let me tell you, in Texas, well, everywhere, a guardianship is taking away that individual's rights, right? If Roz gets guardianship over me today, I can't make any decisions on my own. I'm basically a child again, right? I'm not allowed to go, buy a car or do anything really. So, because that's a full relinquishment of someone's rights, we are ultra conservative about guardianship in Texas. So if you have to go get guardianship of me, you may get guardianship of my body, which means that you can make my medical decisions, right? But you are definitely not going to get guardianship of my estate. You are going to have to go to the judge every time you want to do something. So I had a client who got guardianship of her mom. Her mom had very, very, very bad Alzheimer's. And she needed to get her mom out of the situation. She needed to put her in a home and do this. So we get guardianship. She gets guardianship of her mom's body. But then she needed to sell the house so that she could take the proceeds from the house to pay for the nursing and the long-term care facility, right? And those places are not cheap, y'all. Mm-hmm. So in order to go sell the house, we had to go back to the judge and ask for permission. Then we had to show the judge that those funds were actually used for mom after judge gave us permission. And every single time that cost money. And if we had had POA signed before mom got her Alzheimer's, it wouldn't cost money. There would be no additional cost, right? There would be no need for a lawyer such as myself. So that was a very long explanation of a small piece of estate planning.
That was good.
Hopefully from that explanation, you can see why estate planning is so important. We didn't even talk about what's going to happen to your house when you die or with your bank accounts when you die or whatever. We are just talking about what happens with you physically and mentally from now until your death, right? From the incapacity to your death. And y'all, we live longer. We live so much longer nowadays. I mean, I was talking to someone about this because I reached 40. And I know, hard to tell.
Yeah, exactly.
My friend was showing me this baseball player from the 80s that was my friend's age, right? And the baseball player looked like my grandpa. Like, literally, he looked like a grandpa. And I'm like, well, they did smoke cigarettes quite a bit back then. And they didn't really know about sunscreen. And, people just didn't live as long. So back in the day, like when I was younger, 40 was pretty older, you know, you can think about retirement and that kind of stuff. We don't do that now. We're not going to retire until like 70, 80. Why would I? 80 is like the new 25, you know?
That's true.
But the longer we live, the more important is we have these kind of things in place. Because your mind can start slipping very young and we not really even know, right? Like, and we don't even really know for a long time. Do it now while your mind is here, while you're healthy. Take care of business.
Yeah.
And that way you don't have to worry about, well, crap, what will happen, you know, when I break my hip? Because, you know, as long as we're all living, we're all going to break our hips at this point. You know, it's just like, okay, just a matter
of no, I'm not slipping and falling and breaking my hips. No.
I'm not either. I'm so paranoid. I'm only 40. I already made my bathroom, so I can't slip. I ain't breaking no hip.
Wow, this is awesome.
So let's do segue into property, since, you know, all things real estate. So what happens when someone passes single and then married, and they have property? And
absolutely nothing happens. So the biggest, I think, misnomer with people is like, oh, mom died, so dad automatically got the house. No, ma'am.
Wow.
Nothing happens.
Nothing. Wow.
That's me talking into my mic, really.
Yeah.
So, the fact is literally nothing happens.
What about that as cheating because of the state that says if you're married, then it's your husband, does that not come into play?
It's not a cheat to the state until you have not paid taxes for, oh God, how long? Till the tax man notices, right? So when I say nothing happens, I mean literally nothing happens. I've had folks call in like, oh yeah, my mom died 15 years ago and I paid off the mortgage. Like I just sent the last payment yesterday, so maybe I should get the house in my name now. Yeah, there's a thought. Yeah, maybe you should.
Yeah, like, oh God.
Let's do that. Right. So this idea that the government is just going to swoop in and take our stuff is it's probably from New York or something. I don't know. Yankees do crazy things, but not here in Texas. It is going to take a long time for the government to get their hands on your stuff. If you go into DCAD and you write the estate of, I mean, we're talking like 50,000 properties show up, right? Like DCAD doesn't know you died unless someone tells them. Then it goes into the estate of, and then they still don't do anything. As long as the tax bill's being paid, they don't care, right? Eventually, if the tax bill's not paid, Linebarger is going to get their little dirty hands on it. And then you're going to end up calling me, and we're going to do the work that we needed to do back when the person died, and then, you know, hopefully get you through the tax lawsuit. So nothing happens unless you do something. So what should happen is really the question. What should you do? Because there must be an action, right? It doesn't just take place on its own. The fact that I died does not mean all of my stuff just automatically transfers to my two children. It does not work that way. So there are a multitude of kind of factors that play into what to do when someone has died. The first is, did they die with or without a will? Or with or without a trust. So, Roz, before we got on, you asked who needs a trust and who needs a will.
Yes.
So let's talk about that right quick, and then we'll get back to what happens. So, a will tells someone what to do with your stuff after you die. A trust holds your stuff and can distribute upon your death or can continue. All right. So in the state of Texas, our laws are written for a couple, like a Leave It to Beaver couple. Husband and wife, so only marriage, all their kids are together. Is that you, Roz? Is that you, Rhonda? Okay, Rhonda, but not Roz, right?
What do you mean, us all together?
Are all your children from your current husband?
Oh, no.
Exactly.
It's even more complicated.
So 2/3 of the people on this call do not work well under that code. That code is not written for us. That code is written for Rhonda and Rhonda's husband. But Rhonda is the exception now, not the rule.
Ex-husband.
Right? Like, that's 2020, maybe she was the rule and not the exception, but the script has flipped. It's International Women's Day. We all were able to get jobs, and now we don't have to tolerate men's crap as much, right? So here we are. If you are not in a Rhonda marriage where all your kids are together, and I'm talking even if you are, but your dude went out on you and you have he has this kid from this other relationship.
Wow.
A will be all right, but it's going to cause you more harm than, well, maybe not more harm, but it's not going to be anywhere what you need compared to a trust. So in people like Roz and I, we have to have trust. And that is because
I had baby daddy before I was married.
Because we have baby daddy. That is correct. Bing, 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 bing. So another thing, at least for me, both my kids are under 18. They can't inherit. So I can't actually leave anything to them. So I have a trust, and all my stuff is in the trust. And then there are instructions for the trustee of what to do with the trust if I die or something happens. And then they will do that. And the kids will, college will be taken care of, that kind of thing, through the trust. But a will would not suffice. If I have minor children and all I have is a will, everything is going to get sold and put on with the registry of the court, where the child will make a little bit of interest if you're lucky, and then at their 18th birthday, they get it all. I don't know about y'all, but I don't want my 18-year-old son getting no $10,000.
No.
I don't want him no $10,000 either. I don't want no. And my son's responsible, y'all. My son is a very good boy. I still don't want him to have that kind of money. Okay. I mean, you got to think about this. An 18-year-old, any money is money, right? Even $5,000 is a ton of money for an 18-year-old. So, do you really want your house to be sold and then that $100,000 to just go to your 18-year-old? I don't. I love my kids, but no. No, I want to make sure their future is secured, not just until the day they turn 18. Now you're off on your own. That's not how I'm raising them to begin with, right? So, another issue is Roz is actually married, so I'm going to use you, Roz.
Use me.
Statistically speaking, your husband should die before you. So I'm just going to go off statistics, okay? Your husband passes. If your stuff is not in trust and you don't have a will under the code, and the government will dish everything out under the code, right? So your husband he'll keep his 1/2 interest. So everything you bought together, he'll keep half of, you will keep half of, because you'll get your half. Then you'll get half of his half, because it's a community property state, so you inherit half of his half. Now that is a change since 2019, and I think that's a good change. I think that's that is reasonable. You should be inheriting through him. Before, in the past, you wouldn't have inherited through him. His kids would, but not you. So you would have co-owned your house 50-50 with his kids. But now you'll co-own the house 75-25.
Oh, I see. Wow. Okay.
Now, let's say you willed the house to you. Now you own the house outright. There's nowhere that says you have to give anything to his kids. So now you meet this beautiful Sancho who cleans your pools, so charming and handsome and delightful, and he convinces you to leave everything to him. Now, everything you got through your husband, through that marriage, that really should be going to his kids, right? It was his stuff that y'all did together for his generational wealth, is all going over to Sancho, and it's perfectly legal.
Wow.
The only way to prevent it is with a trust. So we make the trust irrevocable upon the first person's death, and that way we know that exactly how that person wanted things distributed will be. Now, even if Roz, in a trust situation, if Roz went out and found a Sancho, she can't give him anything in the trust. She can go buy her own stuff, new stuff, and she could give that to whoever she wants. But the stuff that was in the trust that was earned with the husband is stuck in the trust and can only be used to your benefit and the way the trust outlines it.
Wow.
Love it.
This question for you. Got a question for you, because in the mortgage industry, and knowing one of the things is right of tenancy survivorship. Tell me how that plays, and I know I'm probably missing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think what you're talking about is joint tenants with right of survivorship.
Yeah, joint tenancy with rights of survivorship.
So for me, joint tenant taking your deed, and well, first let me just say, in Arizona, joint tenancy is the every other state, joint tenancy is the primary way. In Texas, we do it as tenants in common.
Okay.
Which is stupid. I don't get it, especially since we're a community property state. It's like, hello, but whatever. So a joint tenant with right of survivorship is a great way to avoid probate. And particularly if your only asset is that home you co-own, or maybe a couple homes, but these are really your only assets, you could take them as joint tenants with right of survivor, and then whoever passes first, the other person just takes your death certificate and records it at the county recorder office. Boom, it's theirs, no questions asked. Another reason I like that is because it is so much harder to say, well, she signed that deed under undue influence, than it is to say she signed that will under undue influence, right?
Gotcha.
Doing deeds. Another thing we do with a lot of folks is a Ladybird Deed. And it's International Women's Day. So usually we'll have a woman who either purchased the house on her own or inherited through her now deceased spouse. Now, and that's the only asset, right? And most folks, their home is their only asset. That is perfectly okay. That is, congratulations for having an asset. Okay. So I just want people, good job. Okay. But if your home's the only asset, that makes our life a lot easier because we can do a Ladybird Deed. And what that does is it basically says, okay, I'm Lauren. This is my house. I'm going to do whatever I want with it. I can get a loan. I could sell it. I can paint it green, whatever. But at the moment of my death, it becomes whoever's named in the Ladybird Deed. So in my case, it would be Noah and Liberty. It becomes theirs. Or I could do a Ladybird Deed where it becomes the trust. I can say, well, at the moment of my death, it goes into the trust name. But right now, I just put my house into my trust, so I don't even have to worry about that, right?
Okay.
So there's a lot of alternatives to probate. And the reason you would want an alternative to probate is because probate takes forever.
Is that because of backlog or just?
Roz, don't even get me started.
Okay.
Let me just say, in Collin County, probate does not take forever.
Okay.
In Dallas County, probate takes forever. So y'all can figure out what the difference is there.
So what time range are we looking at? What's forever?
So, well, that would depend on the court you land in. So if I have someone who, thank God, owns something in Collin County and I can go to Collin County, we're talking less than 90 days. We're going to have letters of testamentary and be doing inventory and notice, that kind of thing. Okay. Fast. If I have someone who only owned property in Dallas County and died in Dallas County and I can't escape the jurisdiction of Dallas County, depending on the court, we're talking 2 to 3 years.
Oh, heavens.
Yeah, that's a big difference.
Huge. And actually, one of the courts, I mean, someone called in about a 2010 case that's still open recently. So I wasn't even a lawyer back then.
Wow. Well, I have a scenario I wanted to share with you, and I'd like for you to share, how we could have worked through this to help our clients. So I was reached out to sell some land for an owner. The owner was not incapacitated. I mean, they were, I'll just say they weren't out here, but they weren't dead either.
So they were incapacitated?
Well, they were not in a coma, but it was questionable as to their coherence.
How lucid they were. Okay.
Yeah. So they wanted to sell land.
How do you know they
The relative wanted to sell the land.
I was going to say, we don't know they wanted to sell it if they're incoherent.
Yeah. The relative wanted to sell the land. However, they couldn't get a power that because they didn't feel the person was coherent enough. But yet they were still living.
Well, we talked about that a little while ago. That the next step is guardianship. That's why you do the POA now while you're healthy. Because The
Well,
mind flips.
we're talking about when they're not healthy in that situation. So what do? Nothing can be done.
No, you have to go get guardianship.
Guardianship,
That's it.
which
And
is
you have to get guardianship of the body. And like I just talked about, you're going to have to go back each time and get permission to do things from the court.
which that takes a long time.
Absolutely. It's very expensive. Like,
Okay.
listen, when I tell you guardianship, none of these things can be done without a lawyer. Because technically, if you go into probate court, you're representing an estate, and you can't represent anything unless you have a law license, right? So guardianship, I can go down and do a guardianship if I want to because I have a license to practice law, but neither of y'all two can go do that on your own. You have to have a lawyer. So that means you're gonna spend money, lots of it.
Lots of money.
We are not cheap.
I definitely understand that.
Yes. So the cheaper way of handling it would be to get your POAs done now while your mind is sound.
One more question. I tell you, I had so many people back in the day. Okay, church left me a property, or my neighbor just loves me so much, they're gonna quit claim this deed over to me, and then I want to sell it. What's a yes and what's a no? What's good and what's bad about that? Are quit claim deeds legal? Are they legal?
Let me just say, it's called a quit claim.
Yeah.
So a lot of people want to call it a quick claim. No, ma'am. It is a quit. Like, I quit. I'm done.
Well,
and it is literally quitting your claim to the property. So it's assigning my rights to the property to someone else. It is worthless in the state of Texas. It is not worth the paper it's printed on or the ink used to print it, and you will never see a quitclaim deed leave my office, ever.
Why does it exist?
I don't know, Roz. I wasn't around in the 1800s. I got no clue. I know. So here's the thing. Every state is different, right? In Arizona, a quitclaim deed actually is a deed, and you can transfer property. You just don't transfer it. You're not warranting any title. In Texas, a quitclaim deed is not actually a deed. It's just a quit to the claim, and it just lands you in court. That's
pretty much it.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
I mean, it will help you make a adverse possession claim over time. If you get that quitclaim deed and you go pay the taxes for a number of years and that kind of thing, then we can go to the court with a much easier adverse possession case, but and a shorter statute of limitations for you to be paying the taxes, but you don't actually get anything. A quitclaim deed does nothing.
No ownership.
Wow. Now that's a good question, because now I'm thinking about it, and I know it's something that I proposed to you earlier, that they use kind of like a deed and a title, and exchangeable. Is there a difference between the two, or they're pretty much the same?
So in the world of a layperson, a title and a deed are the same.
Okay.
People think of the deed to their house like a car title, right? And they kind of look alike sometimes. I don't know. Car titles are on smaller paper. Now deeds are usually on regular 8x11. However, the title of a property is kind of more of a holistic, larger view, right? So the title, like we get title reports, and that shows us the chain of title, like everyone that's owned it, every lien, every encumbrance, all that kind of stuff. So between you and I, Rhonda, when I'm talking about the title, I'm talking about somewhere in that cohesive large chain. But when we're talking to, someone who just walked in to my office off the street and they say, well, I have title to the house, they usually mean I have a deed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So.
Okay, that explains it.
Yeah.
Crystal clear.
Good to go. Yeah, the law is just so clear. So clear.
Wow.
So, Lauren, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, based on what you just explained about wills and trust, you advocate really for trust. You think that's a better way to go?
I do, absolutely. In the state of Texas. Well, in North Texas right now. Yeah. Absolutely. I have a trust because my kids are under 18 and I have 2 ex-husbands. And it needs to be very clear if I ever, like I said, I am single. So if you are wealthy, independently wealthy, and you're interested, you know how to reach me. But I'm keeping my stuff in my trust because that's separate property. And we could put your stuff in my trust, but that's going to become my property. Okay. So
I know this subject comes up often. Airship affidavits.
okay.
Can those be used in lieu of a will, or what is the purpose of an airship affidavit?
All right. So we call it an affidavit of airship. The purpose is to settle the real property with just the declaration of two sworn witnesses. So we do a lot of affidavits of airship for folks where, well, first let me say the statute of limitations in Texas for a probate or a monument of title or any kind of action like that is 4 years. That used to be a really loosey-goosey statute of limitations. Like, yeah, it's 4 years, but we got to do this so people can actually do this, right? And then there was a Supreme Court ruling that came down the years 2019, 2020, and 2021 have blended to become 1 year for me. So I really don't remember when that court case came down, but it came down during that time sometime. And that case said, no, we're actually going to respect the statute of limitations. We set it for a reason, so we're actually going to pay attention to it. So what will happen is a lot of folks, especially down here south of the river, grandma, whoever passed away. And like I said, nothing happens, right? Unless you do something. You have to do something. Well, most of the time people don't realize they have to do something until they get that tax lawsuit notice.
Mm-hmm.
Then we're using an affidavit of airship. We are so far past the statute of limitations. Even if there was a will, we can't use it, right? You passed the 4 year statute of limitations. You're out of luck. Now, I will say this. I have done affidavit of airship with a will annexed. So if someone died with a will and we're past the 4 year limitation, I will do an affidavit of airship and then I attach the will to the back and record that. That's if there's a difference between the code and what the will says. I have done that. The real question is then, will a title insurance company issue title insurance? Because you don't have marketable title unless it's insurable, right? Marketable and insurable are basically the same thing in this context. And so the issue then is, will a title company accept it? And will they accept the true legal format? So I do affidavits of airship all the time, though, when people die without a will, or even if they died with a will, if the will splits it the way the code splits it, I'll often just use the affidavit of airship because it's so much cheaper. And it doesn't take any time. I don't have to go in front of a judge. I just need you to have two witnesses come in and sign this document, and then I record it, and it's a day. It's over, right?
So
Wow.
do all of the living heirs have to be able to sign that or sign
No,
one?
the heirs don't sign it at all. Two disinterested witnesses sign it.
Oh.
Some title companies will require an heir to sign it, but that's dumb, and that is not what the code says.
Gotcha. Well, I got a question. Okay, how about there's a will with a life estate? And I know you talked about not having to do anything. Okay, how about there's a will, but there's a life estate, and the person passes away?
You go probate it.
Say that again.
You have to probate it.
You have to probate.
You
Okay.
decided to get fancy with your little life estate. Now you got to go in front of a judge.
Okay.
Pretty much anytime anyone tries to do anything fancy in a will, you're going to have to go in front of a judge. Like this one is one of my favorite. To my daughter and 3 sons, they each get $25, and then everything else goes over here. So now there has to be a probate because if you're trying to write them out of the will, you know what would be a better way? Get a trust. Put a trust.
Lauren, we have one question from YouTube. Ms. Price asking, how much is an affidavit of airship?
So I advise everyone to call my office at 972-845-1200, and we will do a consultation to determine what is right for your situation, and we will let you know pricing then and there. I don't advertise my pricing. mainly because people think, oh, this is going to be what I need. And then when I talk to them, it turns out, no, you need So
Let me repeat that number, 972-845-1200.
yes, ma'am.
Okay, putting it in there.
And Roz, I do want to mention, part of my mission is to help this community and to really try to rebalance the scales of justice as much as possible. That being said, I have to do a consultation fee because when I did free consultations, people no-showed all the time. And time is money, right?
Mm-hmm.
Especially to a lawyer. So I only charge $25 for a consultation. What you're not going to get for $25 is me spouting off the law to you for 30 minutes. I'm not going to be telling you, oh, you do this, do this, do this. No, I'm going to hear your situation. I'm going to tell you what I think we should do, and I'm going to tell you how much it costs. That's a consultation. Okay. So I've had real estate investors try to do a $25 consult thinking I'm going to teach them all of real estate law. That is not going to happen. If you want free knowledge, you can go to my YouTube, which is Cadillac Law, spelled just like my name on here. I have tons of videos, and I know Rhonda watches all of them.
CadillacLaw.net.
So our website is CadillacLaw.net, and then we have a YouTube channel, which is Cadillac Law. One thing I want to mention that Rhonda had seen the video of, so I want to talk about this because we were just talking about airships. In 2019, now this date I actually remember because this was so important when it happened, right? That I was like, yes, we did it. The legislature allowed for an airship homestead exemption.
Right.
The reason this was phenomenal is because when that property goes to tax lawsuit, and now you're behind on taxes, which most folks are because they didn't do anything when someone died, right? Because literally nothing happens. You have to call a lawyer. So they did nothing. Now the tax man is suing. They want their money. Well, most people are like, well, crap, I need a payment plan. Well, I can't get you a payment plan unless it's your homestead. And it can't be your homestead if you're an heir and you own it with like 8 other people. It's not going to be 100% homestead, right? It's going to be 1/8 homestead. So this airship exemption, which I did do a whole video on YouTube, allows for heirs. So you're one of 8 kids, but you're staying in the house. You helped mom pass, you stayed with mom, whatever. You're staying in the house. You can now go get 100% homestead exemption, even though you're only 1/8 homesteaded. And the best part, the title work doesn't have to be done yet. So we don't even have to have that affidavit of airship on file. You can fill out this homestead form without that. And then since you have that homestead, you can go to Linebarger and you can get on that payment plan.
Oh, wow.
And you don't have to worry about it. It's sheeting to the state. Right.
Wow.
So when I found that out, I called Linebarger right away. I work with them all the time. So they're my friends.
Okay, explain who Weinberger is, because there's some people.
Weinberger is the law firm that sues they're the tax man. They're the tax man.
Is that just for Dallas County or Texas?
No, there's only like 2 firms that sue in the state of Texas. Linebarger does all of North Texas.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Okay, yeah. So I've become friends with the other lawyers at Linebarger, first name basis, whatever. So when people come to me and they have these issues, I could just shoot an email like, hey, Daniel, how you doing? Can you check on this for me? Right? Easy peasy. So what I did when I heard about this exemption, I was so excited. I called up Daniel and I was like, dude, this was before COVID. I actually went into his office and like, let's talk about this. Can we do this? And they verified that they can indeed do it. And so I started saving people's homes. I was so happy. It's the freest thing ever. Yes, you just go to the internet and get this form and fill it out and send it in. Fantastic.
Wow.
Well, I know this is another subject for another day, and we've talked about, real estate property, but, protecting businesses and those assets where, you have a thriving business, something happens to you and boom.
Ross,
so you work with people on building their trust for, all of the assets, the business, intellectual property, real estate, all of that.
Let me tell you a story, okay? One time, I'm at Dallas Probate Court 2, waiting in the pews for my turn. And I see this very grown man. I'm talking, he had to have been like 54 or something, okay? Like he's
really grown, super grown.
Really grown, like grown man, right? And he's at the front next to the judge, and he's crying. I never seen a grown man cry like this, so this caught my attention, right?
Right.
This caught my attention. So I start paying attention. And the glasses had to come off. This is how serious this is. Mom and Dad have been smart enough to buy a bunch of properties and rent them out. And guess what? That's how they paid for their retirement. Brilliant.
But there's a catch.
Yeah, I know. She's coming with something.
Dad died. And now there's still no administrator, which is basically executor. We don't use executors in Texas. We use administrators. So the man is crying to the judge, please just appoint someone. Because my mom is 85. And for the last year and a half, no one has been able to collect rent. And she is now homeless.
Oh.
My 85-year-old mother is homeless. That's me yelling into the mic for the dramatic effect, y'all. Her and her husband did it right, except that it wasn't in a trust. If all of those properties had been in a trust, the trustee would have just stepped into the shoes
known what to do with it
per the trust and would have collected the rent and put it in the trust account, and then the trust would have paid mom's mortgage. Easy peasy lemon squeezy.
Good
so
Lord.
Any business owner at all, with the exception of law firms have to be owned by a licensed attorney. So even though I have a trust, I can't put my firm in the trust name because my trust is not a licensed attorney. With the exception of law firms, everyone else that owns a business should have a trust and have the business be part of the trust so that the trustee can step into the shoes of the business owner when they pass away and carry on business as usual as if they hadn't passed.
Wow. We got to have you come on.
Lord, honey, you got to come. First of all, if you're not a member of NARAB, please, would you join us? I'll talk to you about that. We need you to come in and teach this week. You're so valuable. Girl. My brain is pulsating over here.
I got all kind of question marks. Yeah.
Yes. Well,
I'll be happy to come back and I'm happy to join the group. And actually, this Thursday, I am starting. I'm so excited, y'all. I used to do in-person presentations and then COVID hit and then I started doing them online. And now I'm going to do both. So this Thursday, I'm having my first in-person, but also simultaneously streaming online in case you can't make it or you don't feel comfortable in a crowd. And I'm doing it. And this is March. So property tax values are about to come out in April. I do property tax protests. It's like one of my favorite parts of my job. One of them. Pretty much any part where I'm like arguing with the government. Okay, I love that.
And how can we tell?
So anyhow, this Thursday at 6:00, I'm doing a PowerPoint, not a presentation on property tax protests and really how to do it on your own and how to get your value lowered. And if you check out cadillaclaw.net and you click on property taxes, you can find more information on that. But we're going to do that in person and online. And I do have the YouTube channel, Roz, because I do believe knowledge is power. And I know for a fact that the knowledge I have, other lawyers don't want it shared.
Right. What's your YouTube?
The YouTube is Cadillac Law, CADILACLAW.
We have a comment that, wow, exclamation point, good stuff from Eartha.
All right, Eartha, thanks for joining us.
Awesome. Well, I think if you'll run down your contact information, your phone number one more time, Lauren, we definitely got to have you back. And offline, I'll send you a link so that you can join us at NARAB. We need you so bad. We need you. Yes. But it's been a pleasure. Thank you in honor of Women's History Day. Women's Day, we honor you. Thank you. Celebrate you. Give you your roses and flowers while you can smell them. Rhonda, thank you so much for being here. We held down the fort. We miss Chris, but we did it, y'all. But anyway, we're going to do our round robin. Would you leave your number one more time?
Yes, so I am Lauren Cadillac, the owner of Cadillac Law. Our number is 972-845-1200. We do anything real estate, probate, estate planning, property tax protests. If it touches dirt, we touch it anywhere in the state of Texas.
That's awesome. And I'm Rosalind Booker, Roz B. Ask Roz B, Principal Broker, CEO of Arbrook Realty, and Director of Arbrook Cares. We do all things real estate. We help people birth their dreams and build legacies. And we, as a nonprofit, link arms and shoulders with those who want to help renters become homeowners. You can reach me at 972-996-4702. Miss Rhonda?
And I'm Rhonda Hutchison. I'm the Lone Lioness. I'm a residential mortgage lender, and I'm here too. I'm linking arms with those like-minded individual who is looking to be able to link arms with me to build generational wealth, to help others build generational wealth through home ownership. You can reach out to me at 214-856-3747. That's 214-856-3747.
Awesome. Well, until next time, and we're here every second Tuesday, every fourth Tuesday with value. So we will be talking about all things real estate, wealth building, economic growth, all of that. And again, thank you, Miss Lauren. We'll count down 3, 2, 1, and we're gonna peace out. We're gonna be out of here. 3, 2, 1. Y'all have a good day.
Have a blessed
Bye,
day.
everyone.
All right. Bye bye. Thank